Hello beer tubers and welcome to another beer review with me, Peter, the master of Hoppets, today joined by...
Just Michael.
Yes, looking
one
at...
and only.
the one and only Just Michael, and not George. Today we're looking at another Verdant beer, and one that you got that I asked, hey, can we review it? Because I really wanted to try this. Because this is Verdant's first attempt at a West Coast IPA, or West Coast double IPA, as far as I remember. I think some of the first releases were more West Coast-ish, like Bloom and Headband and some of those. I think they were a Headband. Was that one?
I think that was New England too, wasn't it?
They probably were, yeah. But this one is the Verdant Too Many Opinions Water Down the Original Idea, which is a fun little interesting thing to put on the label.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Because, you know, there's a lot of opinions about, you know, what IPAs was, and then what happens, you know, well, you got the New England IPA, but that's quite far from the idea of what a West Coast IPA is, which is very bitter and raspy. Like originally American IPAs, like, you know, bitter, dry, grapefruity.
Malty.
Yeah,
some of them.
I'd say more the old school East Coast was more malty than the West.
Really?
Yeah. If you ever had like Southern Tier IPA, Founders IPA, even though Founders is Midwest, some of the old ones, like they're like really dark amber. Yeah. Whereas like on the West Coast, especially the San Diego area, you had beers that were lighter. Also just up north, the first double IPA, Pliny the Elder. Well, that's like golden yellow. Yeah. Very light color. So, but this West Coast IPA here is 9.2%, so quite strong. But usually the West Coast double IPAs are also quite strong. And this one has got extra pale ale malt and caramel malt, and the hops are Simcoe, Amarillo, Cascade, Columbus, and Chinook, which is pretty classic West Coast hops. And they use the BRY 97 yeast, which is from L'Allemand. It's a dry yeast, dry West Coast ale yeast. And it says that it's got a clean malt bill and tons of piney, resiny, Simcoe, Amarillo, Cascade, Columbus, and Chinook. So, and I do, like, for me, West Coast IPA was what was the shit back in the day, was what got me into beer. Or no, it's not what got me into beer, but it was what got me into really hoppy beer. I loved how the West Coast IPA was bitter and had, like, loads of fruit flavor. And what I really loved about the West Coast IPA was like the tropical notes you could get sometimes, and sweet citrus and all that. And then it was just taken even further by the New England style, which is nice. But I do still love West Coast IPAs a lot.
Once in a while, yeah.
It is great. Nice. I mean, when I was in California, I was so many breweries I was visiting, and wherever I went, I tried to get a West Coast IPA because the New England stuff is everywhere now, and it was just so nice to have that. And it's because you're on the fucking West Coast. You're in San Diego. You need to drink some awesome West Coast IPA. And not just haze. So, 9.2%, this will be fun. I mean, Verdant is just great at making hoppy beers. I'm pretty sure they'll probably also be good at making a West Coast IPA. I know James does a lot of research on this stuff.
Yeah, probably.
So, pours a lightly hazy golden yellow color. Yeah. Orangey. Or just, orange. I mean, it looks like kind of like chill haze or something. The West Coast IPAs would look like this. It's not like a Merc Bomb. Yeah. It's not like a Merc Bomb.
I can see my finger through anyways.
Yeah, it's definitely not as hazy as the New England ones. And then a nice pillowy white head on top. Let's check out the aroma. Oh yeah, that takes me back. I think we saw some comments, people saying this is not that West Coast. Yes, it is. It's got the pininess and the classic grapefruit.
But it also has some sweet fruits.
Yeah, but people tend to forget how the West... I think a lot of people think of old school IPAs as they don't think as the old school. They don't think about the old school East Coast anymore. Smutty Nose IPA, Southern Tiers IPAs. What else? There's a ton. All these like darker IPAs. Loads. Flower Power. I think that was a little bit more bright though. But from Ithaca Brewing. Although, like a lot of East Coast breweries made a lot of IPAs, but they had such a big malt backbone. They had lots of caramel malts. Not as high bitterness. And then on the West Coast, they took it in a different approach with like Vinny from Russian River and...
Yeah, I think as the West Coast as malty.
Yeah, and Mitch Steele, Stone. Those are some of the, very great brews. And like they also think Alpine up in Mammoth. I mean, they just really pioneered this style, making really fruit forward, bitter. Bastard. Yeah, fruit forward but bitter IPAs. Yeah. Super crisp, super clean, but bitter, really having a shining hop character. And this is what you get here. There's no fuzz with crazy yeast esters. It's super clean. It's very dry smelling, and the hops shine. Yeah, and it's like resiny hops. It's not like this. It's a punch ball of fruitiness, but it's, as they say, resiny, like sticky hop character. And that's exactly what you get in the West Coast. It's that sticky, resiny hop character that's fruity. That's exactly what you get. And I think it's part of it is not just this kind of malt bill, but it's also like the amount of sulfate they use. They use a bit more sulfate and that makes it sing a bit more. And then you don't get all the crazy yeast esters that makes it even more juicy. Like everything in these styles, like people say, well, like people who are homebrewers say it's easy to make a great IPA. You just chuck in a load of hops. No, my friend, it's very hard to make a great IPA. There's many parameters that go together to make IPAs great. So, rambling on about IPA, let's talk about the aroma. But I'm getting like garlic, earthy vibes. Like it's actually quite garlicky.
A bit, yeah. Now that you say it, I can smell it.
A savory hop character, which is classic for the West Coast. But pineapple, dankness. Pineapple, I think, is from the Simcoe. But grapefruit,
clean
pine.
and crisp.
Yeah, clean and crisp. Pine, resin. It reminds me of smelling something like the Stone Ruinations and Pliny, maybe not Pliny.
Definitely not New England smell.
No.
Fruity, but not New England.
I would love to see Verdant do more like this. Let's bring back the West Coast.
Yeah, let's taste it first.
Yeah, it smells great. Let's try it. Cheers. Thanks for sharing, Michael.
Yeah, you're welcome.
There you go. That is what I fell in love with, like, back in, 2010? But I will say, though...
Thick, sweet.
It reminds me more like something like Beechwood beers or, like, some of the more northern West Coast breweries that are making West Coast IPAs that are not raspingly bitter. Because the bitterness is not as crazy. If you go to San Diego, some of the, like you always talk about how San Diegan IPA was really freaking bitter. And if you compare it to something like that, it's different. Like even there's like just on the West Coast, there's small variations.
Nice bitterness.
Yeah,
but not a lot.
And the bitterness, I can see connotations toward New England IPA in this because it's not as crazy. There is definitely some, but
yeah, there is bitterness, and I don't think this tastes like a New England.
Super crisp, super clean. Such a nice hop bill on this one. Like that resiny, sticky hop flavor, garlicky, oniony. Grapefruit, pine.
It's not fruit. It's not fruit sweetness. It's malt sweetness.
Yeah, that's
it's not fruit juice.
But the malt sweetness also plays into the actual perceived idea of juiciness.
But when you get a New England IPA, it's fruit juice, mango sweetness, papaya sweetness. It's not that kind of sweetness here.
No, but that's the combination of yeast, sweetness from malt, and like also of course hopping. Like these, the West Coast IPA is a progenitor of crazy dry hopping. So you get a lot of those flavors, but you just have a much more clean yeast that doesn't produce as many esters. So you don't get all these interesting sticky, or not sticky, like sweet fruit, super overripe fruit characters, really. But the sweetness you get is like this sweet character with like a really resiny hop flavor as well. Like
it's got
it feels oily.
Yeah.
But there's definitely juicy fruit character as well. Like there's a little bit of pineapple and citrus fruit, maybe sweet citrus, but definitely the big citrus component is grapefruit. Grapefruit, and then like the pith and rind and peel.
And dankness. There's a bit of dankness too. It's a great beer.
It's a bit catty. Yeah, I think this is a great West Coast IPA. I know. I mean, West Coast IPAs. I don't think they'll ever die out and go out of style because they're fucking great as well. But it'd be fun to see more breweries try and make some West Coasters.
Yeah, go to old school.
Yeah,
go back in time and see what's...
Even though the New England stuff is great, it's just nice to keep things varied. Especially like with like the variation within the style is just crazy. Remember Belgian IPAs? Black IPAs?
I think some of the British make some black IPAs once in a while. Perhaps a Patrons project from Northern Monk.
Yeah.
I think there was a new black IPA now, but I'm not sure, in some collab or something.
But it's really damn good. I think so. It's not as good. Like some of the best West Coast IPAs I had back in the day was like Stone Ruin 10, Alpine Nelson, Alpine Exponential Hoppiness.
I have the Arrogant Bastard as my go-to.
Yeah, but that was not really a West Coast.
It was not a pure West Coast.
It's not really an IPA.
It was bitter. It was dark. I love that.
I think that was always classified more as an American strong ale because it had such a dark malt character. But that was really bitter.
Yeah, it was.
I had it fresh over in the States actually this summer. It was fun to revisit that beer. But I still think this is great. It's not up there with some of the best West Coasters I had from back in the day, but I'm still going to go like 93. I think it's really good West Coast.
I was thinking 92.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good. It is good. It is a good.
I hope they're going to do more.
Yeah,
it'd be cool. With the new facility, more space and everything.
If they can refine this as much as they refined the
New England style, that would be great. Awesome. Just Verdant being the general refined IPA brewery of Europe, but this is great. So, if you guys had a chance to try the Verdant Too Many Opinions, watered down the original idea West Coast IPA, let us know what you thought of it. Man, it was great to get to try this one. Making me reminisce a bit. This turned out to be a long video, but I rambled a lot. So.
And the 9.2%, it's not noticeable. Not the 9.2.
No, it's very well hidden. Yeah, but I think as it warms, that's something that might show up a little bit with the sweetness. And that's also because it has a bit more malt profile, like a little bit of a sweet malt character or whatnot, without being too caramelly. Like when the West Coast IPA ages, it gets cloying.
Yeah. I think if this is warm, it gets a bit cold.
Yeah, I think so.
But at cold, it's perfect.
Yeah. But if you guys had it, let us know. And as always, remember to comment, subscribe, check out the Facebook fan page and Twitter and Instagram, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And I'm going to say cheers. Or we're going to say cheers. And see you guys in another beer review.